world. We intend to provide a top-up supply of library materials that include books, supplementary teaching and learning resources, and reference materials to schools. As integral part of our strategies to fight for a spot in the top 3 performing provinces with regard to matric results, we will provide curriculum implementation, training to all departmental heads in underperforming schools, and dedicated content training workshops using specific subject diagnostic reports to grade 10 to 12 teachers in home language and in the following gateway and high enroll subject: mathematics, physical science, geography, economics, accounting, and life sciences. Our implementation of learner attainment improvement plan will, among others, give greater emphasis to home language performance, ensure greater participation in gateway subject, engage more learners with potential to improve the distinction and bachelor performance, prioritize progress learners for customized support, and measure performance quarterly in order to gauge the effectiveness of our strategies and inform further interventions. We have put aside an amount of 6.5 million for the running of the next SGB elections, which will take place in March 2024, and subsequently establish of SGBs in public schools. This will in short cover the cost of advocacy programs, capacity building workshops, and monitoring. An amount of 24,000 rand is allocated for school furniture in the financial year. This budget is meant to address shortages of school furniture caused by increased learner enrollment, as well as the need to replace and broken school furniture. Honorable members, we are ramping up measures to strengthen safety and security in our school, which are engulfed by acts of violence. And this one, I need support from all members present here today. We are on track to foster safer learning environment in our school through our effort, which aims not only to confront and ultimately uproot all sources of violence in schools, but also to prevent the occurrence of such acts. Honorable members, we cannot win this battle against violence in schools alone as the department. We need you to join hands with us. Bonnete ke gore dikgwetlho tsa borukhutli tse di diragalang mo baaging le mo metseng di fetelela go baithuti ko dikolong. Ka jalo, seo se jala dikgwetlho tsa polokesego mo baithuting ba rona le barutabana mo tsamaisong ya dithuto tsa bone. In collaboration with community-based safety and crime prevention structures, the South African Police Services and the Department of Community Safety and Transport Management, we are winning the battle against violent incidents relating to gangsterism at John Franklin Secondary School in Huhudi near Vryburg. In this financial year, we intend strengthening safety and security in schools by erecting modern clear-view security fences in identified schools, conducting unannounced random searches, resuscitating Adopt a Core program, further declaration of schools as smoking, drug, gun, and weapon-free zones, reviving parental involvement in schools, and by implementing programs that aim at massification of learner participation in sport and recreation activities. Chair of Chairs, research has shown that sport in schools helps learners to keep fit and at the same time maintain an alert mind, which are essential for learning. To enhance our school enrichment programs in the current financial year, we intend to launching the Wednesday School Sport Program on the 7th of June 2023 in Dr. Ruth Sekgomotse Mompati District, and establishing school sport hubs in each district. We intend establishing hubs for cricket in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, tennis, netball and hockey in Ngakamudiri Mulema District, rugby in Bojanala District, and sooner in Dr. Ruth Sekgomotse Mompati District. We are roping in the collaboration of the Department of Arts, Culture, Sport and Recreation, Cricket Northwest, Rugby Northwest, SAFA Northwest, and other sport federations in this endeavor. Honorable Speaker, it is generally accepted that a lack of access of sanitary pads is one of the causes of girl learner poor academic performance, low self-esteem, and drop out from schools. In order to prevent the above from occurring and to restore, maintain, and protect the dignity of our girl learners, we have allocated 18,500,000 rand to provide sanitary pads to 92,344 grade 4 to 12 girl learners in quintile 1 to 3 public ordinary schools and special schools through the sanitary dignity program. The high prevalence of teenage pregnancy in our schools has always been a cause for alarm. Although teenage pregnancy is an intersectoral and multi-sectoral concern, our department seems the hardest hit since that phenomenon hampers the education of the affected girl learner. Experts argue that teenage pregnancy should be understood as a symptom of dire economic condition rather than a cause of it. Whatever the cause may be, school-age schools, predominantly from indigent backgrounds, are the most vulnerable victims of teenage pregnancy in our province. The painful reality is that teenage pregnancy is often associated with a high new HIV infections among adolescents. To cut to the chase, Honorable Chair of Chairs, we have allocated 15,654,000 rand for financial year to be dispersed on awareness campaigns and training on the prevention of TB, HIV, teenage pregnancy, sexual and gender-based violence, alcohol, drug and substance abuse, as well as for care and support for vulnerable learners, monitoring, support, administration of the program. An amount of 50,866,000 rand is allocated to subsidize 31 independent schools in 2023-2024 financial year. Transfers to these schools will be made quarterly in line with the national norms and standards for school funding. An allocation, when it comes to program 4, an allocation of 904,898,000 to public special schools to provide to support learners with special education needs in our 32 special schools and 230 full-service schools. With regard to special schools, the budget will cater for running costs, improvement of ICT, provision of LTSM, hostels, and transport subsidy. Additional assistive devices will be procured for learners in special schools and those who experience barriers to learning in mainstream schools to improve their academic capacities and potential. In addition to the main budget for public special schools education, as indicated above, an amount of 17 million is allocated through learner with severe to profound intellectual disability conditional grant to provide the necessary support, such as outreach services, accredited training of caregivers, provisioning of resources, equipment to identify care centers and schools that provide education to learners with severe to profound intellectual disabilities. Under Program 5, Chair of Chairs, jaaka lefapha la thuto re rulagantse isago ka kitso ya gore ditlamelwana tsa pula di baakangwa go sa le gale. Following the epic migration of early childhood development from the Department of Social Development to Basic Education in 2022, we inherited 2,447 ECD centers. Out of that 2,447, 1,208 of which are registered. The registration of the remaining number of ECDs is part of our target for the current financial year. We must acknowledge, Honorable Chair of Chairs, the initial stage of integrating the ECD function into education was not without teething problems. One of the significant challenges we encountered was the delayed transfer of funds to ECD centers. This was primarily because of the ECD function shift to Department of Education was not done lock, stock, and barrel. The officials who were responsible for processing the transfer of funds to ECD centers while the ECD functions was still under social development was not transferred to education. But one must indicate 979,188,000 rand has been allocated to early child development in the current financial year. In the pursuit of improving access to ECD services, we'll spend the 2023-2024 ECD allocation on subsidization of 660 community-based ECD centers based on the predetermined criteria, register of 800 ECDC centers, providing resources to community-based centers as well as grade R learners in public schools and those in community-based centers. This allocation will also be used entirely to strengthen the quality of curriculum implementation offered to grade R class to ensure smooth transition from preparatory to formal school. Moreover, we intend introducing coding and robotics for grade R learners in ECD centers in primary schools. To this end, we intend to train 1,025 grade R teachers and practitioners to enroll 200 practitioners on the ETDP CETA accredited training on National Qualification Framework Level 4 and above. In addition, Madam Chair of Chairs, we are going to utilize the EPWP incentive grant of 389 million to pay stipends to 115 classroom assistants placed in 115 public schools offering grade R and 4 data capturers at the head office. Chair of Chairs, ka nako ya ngwaga wa matlole, setheo se sešwa sa ECD se se kwa Dr. Ruth Mogomotsi Mompati se abetswe diranta di le dimilione di le 9. Paakanyo le tsepamiso ya ditheo tseo tsa ECD di lemogilweng go ralala province. Tiriso ya madi tsone e tla nna mo lenaneo le le tlang la tlhabololo ya ditheo. Ka mantswe a mangwe re tsaya maikaelelo a gore in this financial year, Chair of Chairs, ra go aga the first ECD e leng gore e tla be e le ya government ko Dr. Ruth Mogomotsi Mompati. Program 6 that speaks to infrastructure, Chair of Chairs. 1,297,549,000 rand allocated to infrastructure development budget will be spent on the provision and improvement of the quality of schools' physical infrastructure in the province. We have to honor the obligation as the department to provide a conducive learning environment in our school that is devoid of both physical intimidation and emotional frustration. Our schools buildings should provide learners and teachers with the freedom of interaction, safety, dignity, and respect for effective learning and teaching to unfold. In the current financial year, we intend using the above budget specifically for new and replacement school building, additions and upgrades of dilapidated schools, maintenance and repairs, which will of course include storm damaged schools and eradication of asbestos structures. Motlotlegi Mosakgotla, re utlwile selelo sa portfolio committee le baagi ba ko Kagisano Molopo regarding skolo sa Lerotleng Primary School and Tlotlang Thuto Secondary School. As one of the biggest concerns, we have taken a deliberate and conscious decision to put to an end to the long-standing dilemma affecting the construction of the two schools in this financial year. We hope to communicate a strategy to deliver those schools project by the end of June this year. This notwithstanding the ongoing legal processes, but to those communities ba Kagisano Molopo le bone ke batho jaaka batho ba Bokone Bophirima tshwantse ba agelwe dikolo tse ne re ba tsholofeditse tsone mme ra netefatsa gore ko bohelelong re tle go ba agela dikolo tsone tse ne re ntse re ba promisitse tsone. We are also on the process of continuing with the construction project of Swazireneke Primary School. Chair of Chairs, Swazireneke Primary School is one of the schools tse leng gore ke tlhoba boroko. Ne ra se agela batho ba Dr. Ruth Mogomotsi Mompati. Sene se agiwa ke rre wa rona Re Bozwane, may his soul rest in peace. Because of other issues studied legally, ne ra palelwa ke go se feleletsa ka nako. So re kgonne go e lwantsha tsone di tsamaiso tsa kgotla on behalf of community of Swazireneke. Ibile re ba bolelle gore e se kgale re tle go appointa a contractor o leng gore o tle go tsholetsa sekolo seo baagi ba Swazireneke ba kgonne go kry sekolo sa bona. The establishment of misbuilt mega schools. I know that this school is one of the schools that is closer to Honorable Khosho. Every time obotsaka sone gore skolo sa mega school sa ko Dr. Ruth Mogomotsi Mompati se kae. I'm proud to announce in this meeting gore Honorable Khosho re kgonne go register our progress so far. Engineers have been appointed and they are busy with the designs. Batho ba Dr. Kenneth Kaunda finally ba tle go krea sekolo sa bone se ne re ba solofeditse sone. The issues of land and dolomite have been resolved, and construction of the school is planned to commence by the end of the third quarter of the current financial year. Chair of Chairs, our dream of establishing the first hybrid special school with emphasis on catering for the educational needs of learners with autism spectrum disorder in our province is about to come to a reality. The plans to establish the schools are gaining remarkable traction. Early this month, I led a project team comprising of officials from infrastructure, curriculum, human resource management, and inclusive education to benchmark against special schools for learners with autism spectrum disorder in Western Cape. We gain invaluable lessons which undoubtedly stand us in good state to establish an ideal special schools for learners with autism spectrum disorder in the province. Sa go agiwa ko Kgosi Ra Motshiri Moilwa in Ngaka Modiri Molema. Gone are those days whereby communities babu koni buphirima tshwantse ba tse bana ba bone ba ba ise ko other provinces as if you don't have leadership in the province. A budget has been set aside for the design and implementation of envisaged special schools in the 2023 to 2025 mid-term expenditure framework. Honorable Edwards, we are going to build a school, whether... In the meeting, the national target to advance women in construction. In the meeting, the national target to advance women in construction, we have further planned a contractor development program focusing on advancing women in construction to repair structural damages to school buildings. We are trying to resolve this issue ya di business forum e. So re tsere tshwetso gore basadi se ba ungwelwe. Mme ha gona le sekolo mo motseng o bidiwang Stateng. Tsontse basadi ba eleng gore ke ba dikgwebo potlane ba Stateng e nne bone bang go renovate ba go penta mo go tlhokang ditlhokego teng. The above two programs, namely community-based school maintenance and school and women contractor development, will use community members who, under the supervision of certified artisans, will develop a team that can look after the well-being of our school buildings. Since these programs will be established according to the skills and contractor development guidelines of the Construction Industry Development Board, the people who participate successfully in these programs will be certified by the Construction Education and Training Authority, CETA, as bricklayers, electricians, plumbers, roofers, and others that may be required for maintenance of school infrastructure. Chair of Chairs, based on a conservative estimate of 7 equivalent full-time jobs per R1,000,000, both capital and maintenance budget is projected to provide employment for approximately 4,400 people in the 2023-2024 financial year. Furthermore, we have planned to employ 71 youth through the EPWP integrated grant. It is on the basis of the above that as the department, we firmly believe that over and above skills development, we hope that these flagship programs will contribute meaningfully to the existing local economy development initiative. We would like to inform this August House that plans to mitigate the effects of ESCOM load shedding to our special schools, technical schools, schools that offer CAT, district offices, HR offices, examination offices in Mahikeng are in progress. The last program, which is Program 7, that deals with examination and education-related services. I'm simply happy to announce that the matric class of 2023 made us proud by increasing our matric results. By increasing the matric results from 78.2 to 79.8. This 1.3 billion rand allocation will be spent on operational activities of exams, examinations and assessments such as printing of question papers, payments of security services at marking center, training of all marking personnel who ensure that examination assessment processes are credible as well as to meet the ever-increasing demands of improved learner performance across the system. Chair of Chairs, through examination and assessment processes, we anticipate to employ about 500 youth, mainly from our local universities and TVES colleges, to serve as marker assistants in our 2023 grade 12 examination marking centers. Honorable Chair of Chairs, we are fully aware of the systemic challenges facing the department that tend to threaten quality and efficiency regarding the level of service delivery to our people. Nonetheless, with a dedicated and hardworking team of men and women at all levels of the department, we will do our best to serve the people of this beautiful province. In closing, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the following: the Premier of the Northwest Province, Honorable Kaubiza Bushi Mape, for his continued support and leadership, the Speaker of the Provincial Legislature, Mme Basetsana Danji, for your guidance. I'm not saying it's easy, Mother, but based on the experience I gained from the legislature and through your teachings, ga go thata jalo jalo. Mme go fitlha gone ke tla fitlha, and I'll always forever appreciate that. Honorable members of this August House, your support, colleagues in the Executive Council for their unwavering support, Mekosho. Every time ha ke tla mo go wena ha o mphelele pelo ha ke batla some advices because rutile gore because khale o ntse o le mo fielding e motho a ka anya go le gontsi mo go wena. So ke a itumela ebile ke appreciate batho tshwantse ba leboga sentse na ba tshela. Thank you very much. Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee for their vigilant oversight and guidance roles, the Provincial Chairperson of the African National Congress, Comrade Dumile Nono Maloyi. I remember how members of the African National Congress in the Northwest Province began singing Nono Re Go Rata Kaofela in the direction of the Provincial Congress in the edition of Aduwele slogan. Indeed, everything now makes sense. The encouragement and guidance I received from the movement motivated me to work harder in the department and show others that the African National Congress did not err by sending me to this important portfolio. And once more, I thank the African National Congress, which is the gigantic and the oldest liberation movement in Africa, for giving me this opportunity to serve the people of the Northwest Province. Will ensure that every child in this province get quality education. Comrade Colin Mokoni Maine, the President, you never stopped encouraging me to study and read more so that I arm myself with information because you are always confident that common sense cannot rule government. Despite the fact that we argue mostly ka issue at TikTok, but your guidance and everything, I am what I am today because of your advices and your guidance. And Nathan Oliphant in absentia, I'm really benefiting from your efforts, my friend. Your suggestions and ideas have helped the department see things more clearly as it moves quickly. I appreciate you. Big thanks to those of you who follow us on social media platforms for your immense support and for providing us with information. Thanks to you, our ground troops, I'm able to step in when there are problems, which makes my job much easier. The Acting Superintendent General, Dr. Mvola, and Team Education, wow, your dedication is, I cannot measure it. You are truly deserving of the Izinjaza game. Let's keep waving high the department flag with pride. Most importantly, our school communities, teachers, parents, and learners for their continued trust in us and hard work. Despite the struggles, the majority learners and educators continue to press on, to press on. Manyora Army, thank you very much. Education sector, social partners, labor unions, SGB associations, civil society, our various education partners for their different roles in ensuring that we deliver quality education in our schools. Big up to our unions. We are eternally grateful to two colleagues, Mrs. Kibone Memory Rabanye, Department Head for Languages at Litsatsing Secondary School, and Mrs. Butsang Patricia Lekume, Provincial Setswana Coordinator, for their role in translating selected parts of this speech in Setswana. Ke lebogile batsadi ba me. Mme Stefina Mamutu Semashwe, the former Superintendent General for Education. My dearest mother, many thanks for the priceless lessons you provided me with. To my family, especially my husband, Reini Khotso Mutsumi, I would like to say thank you for all the sacrifices you have made. You have made my job easier, made sure that all political gaps are closed, and ensured that our children, Amantle Aluta and Azania Arona Asante, do not feel burdened by me because of my work schedule. Ke a leboga mogatsake, Modimo a go boloke, a go phatsimisetse tsotlhe mo bophelong. And to my parents in absentia, I would not be where I am if it wasn't for your sacrifices. It is not every day that parents get to reap the benefits of their labor of love. And for that, I stand to owe our God, our Creator. Really, it is not by my own strength to make it far. I'm grateful to God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Following on from the vigorous debate generated by the best-selling book entitled Women's Liberation and the African Freedom Struggle, the Marxist revolutionary and Pan-Africanist late president of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, from his coup in 1983 to his deposition, stated that we are not against progress, but we do not want progress that is anarchic and criminally neglects the rights of others. And thanks to the Kago for quoting, for giving me this quote, Ampolela gore is relevant because our communities must understand gore ha ba protesta ba se ka ba tsaya bana ba rona ba go ba itsa go ya ko sekolong, because by doing that they are not assisting us as the Department of Education. Business forums out there, by stopping those projects, we are not doing justice to our people. We want to provide services. So, ha re ka dirisana mmogo go ya ko pele, ke dumela gore Modimo o tla tshegofatsa province ya rona go ya ko pele. In that note, I thank you, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutsumi, on your maiden budget speech. We will now take this opportunity to call the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Education, Arts, Culture, and Recreation, Honorable Paul Sibejo. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of Chairs, honorable members of the legislature. As the chair of the committee, I wish to confirm that the committee indeed met and interacted with the department to look at its priorities and what it wants to achieve based on what they have tabled as part of their strategic plan. In considering the details of the annual performance plan as presented by the department, the committee studied, amongst others, the estimates of provincial revenue expenditure, the tabled appropriation bill presentation by the department, the research analysis, the annual performance plan of 2023-24, and the budget speech as has been presented by the MEC. That is in accordance with section 118 of the Constitution as required. Based on that interaction, the committee raised the following issues, and we want to appreciate the progress that have been made by the MEC in terms of her pronouncement in responding to most of the issues that were raised by the committee. Amongst others, the concern that we had was the abandoned infrastructure projects. And whilst we are specific here in terms of Lorotleng Primary School, Tlotlang, Tuto, and Morokweng, we have resolved that we would need a full report in terms of all abandoned infrastructure in the department, and it must not just be limited to these 3 schools as alluded here. We also seek clarity in relation to how the department is going to deal with the transition of the ECD from Department of Social Development and Human Resources, as far as human resources are concerned, and which the department managed to respond, and we are looking forward to that program that we have requested. The committee also wanted to know how the department is going to be able to deal with the court order on the identification of learners at school without relevant documentations, such as birth certificate and identity documents, which is common across most of our schools in the province. The committee also wanted the department to clarify its position in relation to the no-fee schools, because there's a view that there are learners that are not South Africans, mostly in Matlosana and Rustenburg, but are the beneficiaries of the same no-fee schools. These are some of the issues that came out, also as it relates to the recommendation by the Auditor General in line with the sanitary towels, as they have not yet been, the department in this regard have not been performing quite well as it relates to sanitary towels, which had been expressed by the Auditor General. So there is that undertaking that has been made by the department, and will continue to interact in terms of that. There's also a concern that was raised around, which is critical, around the closure of Mamorato High School in Delareyville. There's a view that this school was just recently renovated, not long ago, but has now been, they have relocated the scholars to Ottosdal, where there are only mobile classrooms, so it didn't make sense. But it is something that we hope the department will have to look into, given the reality and the justification thereof. Also, the issues around the infrastructure unit, where there was some need for clarity in terms of its responsibility versus that of public works. But it's a matter that has also been raised. There are many issues that were raised by the portfolio committee, which will be receiving report from the department, but in the interest of time, I think they are self-explanatory in terms of the communication we have sent to the department. And in terms of the recommendations, these are some of the recommendations that the portfolio committee made, that the department need to provide to the portfolio committee within 5 days the following reports: the report on the plan of the report regarding abandoned infrastructure as specified here, the database on infrastructure at school, including the implementation plan, so that it enables the portfolio committee to follow up as part of its oversight responsibility. The report around consequences management, because there were some concerns about certain things that would have been done better. So we would want to see if there would be some remedial actions that will be put in place. And the report around the abandoned project, about particularly contractors who have abandoned this project. Our interest was to know whether these contractors have been blacklisted or it is business as usual, because you can't have a situation where a contractor abandoned a project and somewhere again the same contractor is allocated project within the department as such, unless there are some legal grounds that actually deprive the department of taking action. So those are some of the issues that we have raised. One of the issues amongst others is also request for a report in relation to the transition of ECD staff from the Department of Social Development. It's what we are looking forward to. The issue around Auditor General that we have also spoken to. The report on the service providers for mobile classrooms. The cost per mobile and the reason why the department prefer mobile instead of building. It is a concern because these are temporary arrangements in place at cost. So our view is that the department needs to start looking at providing permanent solution to the shortage of classrooms as such, because this mobile, at a certain point, we might not actually see the need to act urgently in terms of ensuring that we provide decent accommodation for learners. The other concern was around, which a recommendation says, performance of SGBs and how the department is going to assist them. The SGBs are not assisting us. We all know gangsterism in schools, drug abuse, and so forth. So we thought the SGB will help to close the gap between the schools and the parents as such. So we have actually impressed upon the department to look seriously into coming up with some interventions that will help or enable SGBs to really play their role. And in most cases, they are also dysfunctional. They are not meeting, they are not meetings that are held to assist the schools from making appropriate decisions. One of the issues, again, that came to the portfolio committee is around shortage of maths and science teachers, which we have impressed upon to the department, and there is an undertaking. We hope, as they will be presenting their report further to this in terms of the action plan, that those issues will find expression. We've taken note of the pronouncement about the vacancies that have been advertised, which was an issue raised about a lot of vacancies within the department, and we're looking forward to ensure that there is a commitment and that filling of vacancies becomes a priority to enable the department to perform. The other issue we raised, which was a concern, was around the issues of the review of tenders that were advertised very recently, where we said instead of the department just concluding to terminate these tenders, they must rather take them to provincial treasury for review to determine justifications. Because if you look at the reasons why we are unable to spend most of the time, it is because either the bid committees do not see it. If they see it, we sometimes just decide maybe because you did not appoint somebody that I was expecting, so tenders get nullified as such without justification. So it's only fair that at least Treasury is able to advise to make a determination and satisfy itself. Because if you are going to be re-advertising, especially around 7 or 8 tenders that the department indicated, you can imagine about the time lost and that is still going to be lost. That's where you have a tendency of not spending money, which then get transferred to other provinces. Those are some of the issues that were raised. Overall, we really wish to appreciate the cooperation and the commitment that we have seen from the departmental officials, the MEC herself and the team, even though that you need to respond on certain things that we raised, but we will interact around it. But overall, we appreciate the cooperation that we have received. Also from the portfolio committee members, you were honest in terms of the issues that got raised. They are indeed in the interest of the province. We also wish to thank the officials of the legislature for their support to make sure that all these issues have reached the point where they are. And in conclusion, in accordance with Rule 153, the Portfolio Committee hereby recommends that the House adopt the report on the budget vote 8 for the financial year 2023-2024 for the Department of Education as recommended. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sibeko. We will now call upon Honorable Motswana. The floor is yours. You have 11 minutes.
In line with the policies of the sector, we welcome the good to contribute in providing permanent solution to the architecture of our education system. The Constitution and National Development Plan provide the moral imperative and mandate of the ANC-led government, both at the national and provincial level, to make the social justice principle of access, redress, efficiency, inclusivity, and quality educational opportunities widely available. The ANC education system policy framework and objective are simple but critical. Our children and young people need to be better prepared by their schools to read, write, think critically, and solve numerical problems. The skills are the foundation on which further studies, job satisfaction, productivity, and meaningful citizenships are based. Our vision for the education in the province is premised on the basic principles such as ensuring that learners attend school on time every day and take their schoolwork seriously. To address the principle of access, redress, equity, efficiency, and inclusivity, as the ANC, we call on the department to deal decisively with the issue of incomplete and abandoned schools in various districts. Workable plans on how challenges of incompletion projects are to be resolved must be implemented as part of the infrastructure delivery and a turnaround strategy. This will go a long way in making sure that there's value for money for the budgeted projects. Ga go project e pe tshwanelwang ke go lelwa ke dipoo fa go nna le botsukunape ba ba amegang ba tshwanelwang ke ba amegang ba tshwanelwa ke go lelwa ke ditshipi le go isiwa ntlo le fitshwana. Eradication of temporary classrooms must be ramped up to make a way for permanent structures. We implore the department to seek alternative land to build schools in order to deal with overcrowding in schools, which inhibits the delivery of quality learning and teaching. The department should act against contractors who are found wanting in terms of completion of projects which resulted in block projects. This blocked or abandoned project has the consequence of denying our children Must be recouped and asset forfeiture activated. The completion of safe sanitation is important in schools. The ANC provincial Lekgotla resolution emphasized the importance of safe and secure sanitation in our schools by the end of this financial year. Therefore, the pace of delivery must be accelerated and the interests of our people advanced without compromise. This resolution is in tandem with the ANC January 8 statement 2023, which talks about the improving delivery of basic services and maintaining infrastructure to accelerate delivery of services. The removal of asbestos classrooms will address the concerns of Human Rights Commission of allowing learners to study under hazardous conditions which are not conducive for a healthy learning and teaching environment. Though the relocation of early childhood development from the Department of Social Development was cumbersome, we have noted progress made in dealing with the legal and policy realities, organizational implement imperatives, provisioning and pragmatic challenges, among others. Resolution of the myriad of challenges should pave the way for the completion of the relocation process and provision of facilities required to lay a solid and uniform foundation for ECDs. The introduction of compulsory attendance registered at ECDs and the intended objective to monitoring performance is most welcome, especially in grade R, catering for children who will be turning 6 years of age. Follow up on introduction of these intervention measures in grade R classes for learners who will be turning 5 years of age demonstrate the shift towards professionalizing ECDs, which started with training of ECD practitioners. Given the complexities of the early childhood development program, we would be pleased as the ANC that more work is being done to substantively address the issue of this particular program. The provision of sanitary towels is critically important to learners, especially indigent girls from poorer households. As the ANC, we believe that the right to dignity and the right to life are important cornerstone of human rights discourse. The right to dignity championed by the caring and compassionate ANC government is the acknowledgement of intrinsic worth of human being, and that dignity is the source of a person's innate rights to freedom and to physical integrity. The rollout of sanitary towel is crucial in this regard so that there is no learner who is left behind in accessing quality education. Development of a monitoring tool for the independent school will ensure that there is transparency and accountability in the running of the schools. This will curb the mushrooming of illegal schools, which are the compromising quality at the expense of the most vulnerable of our society. We urge the department to increase the capacity of public special school to accommodate learners who need high-level support. The department must make sure that education, training, and innovation system caters for different needs and accommodate all learners to produce highly skilled individuals. We are of the view that additional funding provided to learners in public ordinary schools are to benefit from no-fee school funding in terms of the national norms and standards policy, adequate resourcing of quality learner and teaching support material, provision for learners inclusive of school programs to ensure access and equity. The appointment of specialist therapists, psychologists to special schools and to schools of learners with autism. Learners will mitigate against this dire shortage. No learner should be left behind, irrespective of their special needs. Those who need specialized support have a caring and compassionate ANC government, Honorable Edwards, to meet their special needs. Undivided attention should be paid to maths and science improvement.